What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to today's episode of Bending the Edge. Today, I've got a great interview for you guys with a former colleague of mine. We took a look behind the scenes at marketing endorsements in the NFL and the highs and lows of working at a sports agency and in marketing, and then finished with some great advice to anybody pursuing a career in sports or within a sports agency. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure to subscribe for weekly content and smash that like button to optimize that good old YouTube algorithm. And without further ado, let's get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bending the Edge. Today we are joined by a great friend of mine and a guy who helped me out a lot in my time as an intern at Element Sports Group in terms of thinking outside the box, deal making, and unlocking my inner creative genius. He is the client marketing manager at Element Sports Group, the deal maker himself, ladies and gentlemen, Matt Zobel.
Zobel, client marketing manager at Element Sports. How's it going?
All right. So Matt, do you want to talk about how you got into the sports agency industry and like what brought you to marketing specifically? Just kind of like your whole life story, real quick.
Yeah, the whole life story.
Yeah.
I went to Florida State 2012 to 2016. I was working for the football team there. Definitely always wanted to be in the agent industry. Always thought it was cool, being involved in someone's life to helping them reach their goals. Um, I actually helped Devontae Freeman, who went to Florida State and then went to the Atlanta Falcons. My senior year of college, I got connected with him and his marketing rep. So I kind of got involved with them, doing some PR, doing some marketing, and kind of learned the marketing space and realized that's what I wanted to go into. And then was looking for a job in the industry. As you and everyone else knows, it's extremely hard to find a job
Absolutely.
just naturally in this
Yeah.
industry. So it definitely takes a lot of skill and luck and experience and all that. Um, and I was recommended Element Sports in Atlanta by a number of people. Heard great things about the people there, about the agency, about the clients, about everything. So I interviewed for an internship there, and they were actually behind on the intern program. And I said, "It's all good. Just hire me. I'll start tomorrow." And so awkwardly, I said that, and it actually kind of worked. I went in a couple of days later, got an internship at Element Sports, and then, as you know, I just said I was never going to leave. So I just
Yeah.
learned as much as I could, taught myself as much as I could, read up as much as I could,
Right.
learned everything I had to, and then, fortunately, it led me to a job offer about 9 or 10 months later, and
Yeah.
here I am today. That was one of the things I learned, trying to get into the business, trying to make yourself stand out, not being desperate, but more like direct. And, if you're emailing with, 90 or 100 prospective interns, if one guy is like, I don't care if you're behind, I'll start tomorrow. Like, I thought that would at least help me a little bit. And luckily I got a call and I had, just 45-minute conversation with the person who called me before even getting into all the interview stuff, and it just kind of worked out perfectly. And everything happens for a reason. I was talking to a lot of agencies, and that was just the one
Mhm.
that I heard good things about. The small talk turned into much more deep things before even the interview, and I was just like, this seems like a good place to work at, so I'd like to work here.
Mhm.
And then I got that internship after that crazy email, and got hired 9 months later, and here we are.
Yeah. No, I think from my experience too, in the kind of job search, I'm a little younger than you are, but just being like direct and just like straight to the point and just like clear and kind of like offering your services kind of like for free, especially when you're younger, kind of just like makes you stand out a little bit and shows you just like kind of want it more than like anybody else. So I think that's a good
For
move
sure.
for
and
anybody who's trying
and
to get into this industry.
exactly. And the problem is with trying to get a job in sports is everyone wants to do it.
Yeah.
And not even just that, but everyone who wants to do it, at least most of the people, they're all qualified.
Yeah.
So if the shoe's on the other foot and you're sitting at a desk and are reading 150 resumes of all amazingly qualified people who all have really great experiences, how do you choose two of the
Yeah.
150,
Yep.
So that was kind of like my mindset. And I was like, this is a really good agency. This is one of the best agencies out there. They're in Atlanta. I've heard great things. I've done my research, and I was like, what can I do to stand out? And
Mm.
that's definitely That's how I try and do my job anyways now with brands and with clients, that we're trying to sign and everything like that. Just like a lot of people, even when you're recruiting a player, everyone has a similar pitch. We're the best agency for you. We do this and that.
Yeah.
But like everyone has the same thing. Just like when you're applying for an internship, everyone's qualified. So
Mhm.
how do you figure out that one person or two people to bring on?
Yeah, exactly.
You did it too.
Yeah, yeah. Got my foot in the door.
Exactly.
So kind of circling back to marketing specifically, a lot of people don't really understand it. They see like Peyton Manning, Papa John's, they see all these big deals. What kind of your job as a marketing manager, as a marketing guy for Element Sports Group, what kind of like does your job entail?
Well, definitely the Peyton Manning stuff that everyone sees is kind of like the poster of marketing,
Better ingredients, better pizza, better football. Papa John's.
Yeah.
but it goes to that degree of big, and it goes much smaller to something like a tiny, one-off social media post.
Mhm.
But basically, my job is it's not really just like I have a job and I just go and do my job every day. It's talking to each guy that we work with, seeing what they want to do. You know, some guys might not even be interested in marketing, so I don't need to force it down their throat. It's more just talking to each client and seeing what their goals are, what their branding ideas are, what they want to do, who they want to be associated with, what they want to be associated with. So instead of just like blindly attacking each day, like a normal salesperson, it's definitely more along the lines of like of having a plan of attack for each guy and seeing what each guy wants to do with their brand. And
Mhm.
then once you know these things, and you go from there, instead, if you know they don't like kombucha drinks or something, you don't
Right.
reach out to those companies, because then you're wasting your time.
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of how it was different when I was an intern. Your mindset is just, chug away and try and find as many deals as possible, even if the clients turn it down, just because
Mhm.
you're doing your job correctly. But I've definitely adapted towards just focusing on each guy and seeing, what they want to do.
Mhm. So typically you kind of cater it to what they really want, or sometimes do you come to them and you're like, oh, I think this is good for you.
It's definitely both. My genuine it is a sales job, of course, like most jobs are, just like a regular agent, a contract agent is. It's all a sales
Mhm.
job, but my goal genuinely is to partner up clients with the brands they want to work with,
Right.
because otherwise, if you're forcing them into partnerships where they're not really interested in, and maybe if it's a good, financial offer or something like that, it all depends. Each deal is per case, but my genuine goal at the end of the day is just to partner guys up with brands they want to work with
Right.
and help them build their brands organically and work with companies that they actually want to work with, instead of feeling like, yeah, that offer's really good. I don't like that protein bar, but I guess I'll do it.
Mhm.
That's sometimes those things happen, but that's not my goal at the end of the day.
Yeah, that makes
You
sense.
know?
So you were kind of talking
Yeah.
about those endorsement deals. We are talking about Peyton Manning. We are talking about the high end, but like what for the like the majority of your business besides like a partnership or a sponsorship, what's like what kind of deals do you do for the majority of your business?
Well, obviously, the thing that everyone goes to right away is like these endorsement deals and these partnerships, but there's much more than that. Um, I forgot everyone always reverts to Jerry Maguire.
Show me the money. That's it, brother. But you got to yell that shit. Show me the money. I need to feel you, Jerry. Show me the money. Jerry, you better yell. Show me the money. Show me the money.
Along like there's like the four things or whatever. It's changed obviously at this point, but I can't remember what they said. But there's things like shoe and apparel deals, like the Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, Lululemon. For a couple guys in the NFL, Reebok, I think, has the Watts, and like the Watt
Yeah.
brothers and maybe a couple other guys.
Mhm.
There's the shoe and apparel deals. There's the trading card deals, which is a massive part of marketing. A lot of those Panini trading card
Yeah,
deals
people
go on
sleep on that.
for, yeah. It's something that like people don't at least people on the outside that haven't been in that office yet to learn how this stuff works.
Mhm.
Trading cards sometimes seems like something that we grew up with, and it doesn't seem
Yeah.
like something that's such a
Definitely coming
constant.
back now. It's definitely coming
Right,
back.
exactly. It's not something that you would think on the outside would be a constant in the marketing world, but it's a massive chunk of the marketing world. And then there's also memorabilia, like signings, private signings, public signings. There's corporate appearances that could be part of partnerships, like going to the SEC championship on behalf of Pilot Flying J, which we've done before, or doing an appearance on behalf of Dr. Pepper, which we've done before. So there's a lot of things. And then I would say those are like the main things: the trading cards, the endorsements, obviously the shoe and apparel, memorabilia is big. So there's like these constants, but then obviously you got to keep working all around above and below them on finding, these great deals for your clients.
Right. And then once you kind of figure out where you want to go with your clients, once you start the process with the company, what goes into a marketing deal from start to finish? Like, how does the whole process work?
I try and be as efficient as possible. Everyone does it differently. I really don't think there's a right or wrong way. And also every guy is different. Some guys might want to be involved from the very beginning. Some guy I can call right away and be like, hey, this brand reached out. But then, you run the risk of, getting someone excited and then the deal falls through, or like the deal's not good enough, the money's not there, or they're asking too much for what they're offering. I would say my general system is just getting to a point where it's the offer that I think is fair and valuable to our client, and not something that's a low ball or anything like that. They're so busy playing, focusing on them. That's why it's our job to focus on everything else. So my job is to get the deal to the point where we want it, where it's their best offer. We think it's fair. We think it's a good deal. And then when we bring it to them, we explain it to them. And then obviously, just being on their side, my goal is to explain to them. And then at the end of the day, it's up to them. If I think it's a great deal, I'll tell them it's a great deal. If they don't want to do it, it's up to them. And I'll say, I think it's a good deal, but if you don't want to do it, it's your brand. It's not mine. I'm just, I'm the marketing agent who's doing the work to bring this to you. And then if you do agree to a deal, then obviously we have all these contracts as you've seen. We have a different type of contract for each marketing deal. And then obviously we make sure everything's in our writing, so our client's protected. So from start to finish, it's, initially talking, whether you reach out or they reach out, all the way through signing the deal, which we make sure obviously looks good for our client, protects our guy. And then of course, like actually executing the deal, doing the post or doing the appearance or doing the photo shoot, whatever it is.
Right.
So it's a very long process, but that's pretty much generically how I would say that I do it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. That clears things up for a lot of people who don't really understand what really goes into it. So now you've worked in the sports agency industry and marketing for a couple of years. What has been like your favorite part about working in sports and marketing?
I'll do it twofold. One, it's always been my goal, and it still is, and it always will be, to just see genuinely authentic partnerships, from the very beginning. Just like a brand that a guy really, really wants to work with, and you work out a deal that's, that we're all happy about, that's executed well, and everything just looks fantastic. Those are the deals that I live for. Those are the deals that help me sleep at night, which I don't sleep well at all. So those are the ones that, that make us happy, that where we can walk out of the office at the end of the day, just like we're doing our job right and we're doing it the right way. And also the other side would be, I think going to events are cool. As you remember, we had 2 clients. Well, unfortunately it was COVID, but this past draft, we had Lynn Bowden and Darrington Evans go in the 3rd round. So they were part of the rookie premiere through Panini and the NFLPA. But of course, COVID, didn't allow anyone to do anything. But the year before, we had Darius Slayton go. And, you go you go to LA and you do like this 1 week trip to LA at the Beverly Hilton, and your client or clients get introduced to all these brands they work with, like Panini, the Nike and Adidas and Under Armour guys are there. There's a bunch of brands that are part of the NFLPA partnership program who are there pitching to you and your client.
Mhm.
And then you get to do the whole jersey reveal thing, which is like the coolest part ever.
Right.
But like on my side, obviously my goal is always to do like the authentic, great partnerships for our clients, making sure that they're working with brands they want to work with. And then on the other side, going to all these events is always really cool just to kind of see, because a lot of times you're working on your phone or on your computer or you're in the office, seeing all these brands and people that you work with yearly, like Panini and Nike and Adidas and Under Armour and all those people. Everyone's all kind of under one roof, like at the Super Bowl or at NFLPA rookie premiere.
Yeah.
Those are cool for me, like personally, because you work with these people every day for years and you only get to see them a few times a year. So it's always a good time.
Yeah, I think it's really sweet. Those really like when I was an intern in that period from like January to May is kind of like the big period for like the sports agencies. I mean, you got like the Super Bowl, you got the combine. It's like it's kind of crazy. Like the entire industry is under like in one city under one roof. It's kind of cool to see.
I know, it's like it's everybody, like, and at the combine too, like it's not the biggest marketing event per se, but when these guys have time, they're Under Armour's always there. They have a suite. Nike's always there, have a suite. Adidas, Panini, East Bay, a few brands that always work with players every year. Of course, the NFLPA. Of course, they're all there, and you get to introduce, like a Lynn Bowden to, the heads of Panini who we work with every day. And we're like, this is the person doing these massive marketing deals that we've agreed to. Here's the other person. Here's the person on the other side. All you know is us, but now you get to meet them and network and all of that type of stuff. So those events, not only for me, but the players love it too. These guys like seeing who essentially who they're dealing with, because they only get these offers from us. Panini doesn't call, and Nike and all of them, they don't call the players, they call us, So those are cool on both sides, on the player and agent side, I would say. All those big events.
So you kind of talked about how one of your favorite parts was like getting like the perfect deal and like everything going well. Have you had like a favorite deal that you participated in your career that stands out?
I definitely have had a number of them. I would say actually, just for relevance sake, the one that we just did with Darius Slayton and Budweiser. Darius Slayton he's not a drinker. He doesn't drink alcohol. If you even quote him, he thinks it's disgusting. He just doesn't like it. He's never seen the use of it, and to each his own. But we talked about how like at least like beer sometimes like tastes good. He thinks the taste is good. He just doesn't like drinking.
Right.
Just a personal choice. So we talked with the Budweiser people, and they were doing a dry January with Dwayne Wade and Kevin Kisner. So they had these two massive, A-list, sports figures doing it, and they wanted a football guy. And we were like, Darius is the perfect guy for this because he doesn't drink. He doesn't like drinking. He thinks beer, tastes good, but like he doesn't like the idea of drinking. It's just not in his wheelhouse. He's not interested in it. So like, who's better? Who's, at least a really good player, who's a big name, who fits the brand. So we were able to get that deal. I don't know if you saw it on Instagram.
Yeah, I saw it on LinkedIn actually.
Yeah, so we're all really excited about that. I think it's an awesome deal. That's like one of those like perfect situations where it's a massive brand. It's an authentic fit. It's not BS. Everything that Darius is saying in his interviews that he's doing for the partnership and that he'll be posting about is all 100% honest. So, and actually they're sending all of us this Budweiser non-alcoholic beer. Wow. So we're actually going to meet up with him in a week or so for his next post, and we're all going to, hang out and drink this non-alcoholic beer together.
Yeah,
but I definitely think that was like a really good, that's like one of the best ones I can remember, just from an every different type of situation standpoint,
Yeah, that was a great time in the office getting free stuff sent to you. So
yeah. So non-alcoholic beer will be an interesting one, but Definitely an awesome endorsement deal.
Yeah, that's a big one for sure. So kind of going to like the
Yeah.
opposite end of the spectrum, what's like the hardest part of your job and most difficult part?
I mean, that answer can even be attributed to COVID. I mean, just like
Mhm.
within the last year and potentially going forward, I don't really see this ending that soon, at least for the next 6 months or so at minimum.
Mhm.
Um, the world of marketing right now is weird because it's been almost a year now, and these companies who are trying with all their like might to stay afloat and to stay open, the
Right.
first thing a lot of them doing are either firing their marketing people
Yeah.
or shutting down their marketing department or cutting down their marketing budgets. So like it's just a way different spectrum now, like the shoe deals like the Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, all of them. At least like for example, going into this coming draft in the 2021 draft, it's going to be way different.
Yeah.
Every year I think um, Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, they all have like their main core signed before the draft, like the guys that they fought to get, with each other. And
Mhm.
then a lot of them get signed post draft. A guy goes much higher than he anticipated, or a guy goes to a great market. And, like, for example, someone goes to the Steelers and Nike's like, oh, well, a lot of the big name players are like Juju and James Conner and all these guys are all Adidas. Your guy went to the Steelers in the third round. We want a Nike guy there.
Yeah.
So all those types of things, just like overall, every marketing department or most marketing departments have either like cut their marketing departments out, at least for the meantime, or have been furloughed, or their budgets have been like so greatly reduced that like a normal deal that you're used to is potentially not going to happen this year.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like the world we're in right now. So um, even before that, like this is definitely something that's very unprecedented and it's directly affected marketing.
Yeah.
So that's definitely the weight that we carry on our backs in the current moment. But you got to stay creative and
Yeah.
obviously we're not going to sit there and be like, oh well, all these marketing departments are they've decreased a lot or the deals might be few and far between. It's like, all right, well, let's keep getting those deals done, even if they're few and far between. So
Mhm.
it's just adapting, but that's definitely I would say like the current by far the most hardest the hardest issue we have right now on the marketing side.
For sure. So getting specifically into COVID, that obviously kind of affected all aspects of business, and I saw it in my time there as an intern. Started to try to change your strategy. How through the course of like last year did you adjust your strategies during the COVID specifically?
Um, it's one of those things where it's like not even just in our business, just in the country, or not even the country, the world. Everyone's kind of like, let's see what's going on here, and let's just figure out like let's almost like forecast how we see this going.
Mhm.
So that's really just what we did. We're like, we're gonna assume, a lot of people don't want to spend too much money right now. A lot of people might be, cutting their marketing a little bit or cutting their marketing departments. It was really just kind of like no different than anyone else in any industry, just kind of like a wait and see approach. And you were there for part of that with the draft. A lot of the pre-draft deals that we're all used to just weren't there because once that mid-March date hit when COVID kind of shut down everything,
Mhm.
every brand on earth, let alone in our industry, was like, oh my God, what are we going to do?
Right.
So it was really kind of just like understanding everyone's situation, seeing what they can still do and what they can't do, and just kind of adapting. Because you can't force anyone to doing deals that they can't afford or they don't want to do, and even if we did, that would make us bad at our job because then we're just making people that we work with every year hate us. So it's
Right.
really just kind of understanding every brand, understanding everyone's situation, and just kind of adapting and moving forward from there. And that hasn't changed yet, like we're now in 2021, barely by a week, but all these brands are now trying to figure out their yearly budgets. Most big companies have to plan out their budgets quarterly or, halfway through the year. And like everyone's budgets are still kind of like, well, they're like, well, we don't know if, we're going to sell as well as we usually do. Like, we're, for example, like a restaurant, like there's still gonna be social distancing, and it's not gonna be a normal restaurant. So
Mhm.
just kind of understanding everyone's situation and adapting with them, just for the long term, just making sure everyone's good. And, you know, the people we work with, we want our partnerships and deals with them to be successful too.
Yeah.
We're not trying to bulldoze our way into every deal and, get as much money as possible for as little amount of work, and destroy this company. That's at least not how we do things.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna burn out quickly if that's kind of like your MO in the business. You're gonna
Yeah, I mean,
word's gonna spread around. You're not gonna be able to last doing that.
yeah,
Take
it's a
advantage of
long term
companies.
game. It's
Yeah,
a long term thing. If you screw somebody over on a deal, or you don't treat them right, or you don't give them what was promised, they're not going to work with you again. They're going to tell other brands not to work with you. So really, just um, it's not really even a question at this point. It's just like, if you do things the right way and you treat people fairly, and um, you do everything, ethically and morally correct, I think those things benefit you in the long run. Because then, what if that small company you helped out in a deal 3 years ago, and 7 years they're the biggest, I don't know, sports drink company in the country, and they're like, I remember Matt and Element, like they were cool with us, and they treated us right, and they tried to do the deal the right way, and make sure that we were good and we were getting what we wanted. Like, let's call them and do the biggest deal ever. Well, that's at
yeah.
least the dream, but
Hmm.
at least that's just kind of the MO we go with. Just treat people the right way. I think that will always work out in everyone's benefit at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's the way to do it. Kind of switching gears. Earlier, we were talking about building their own brand, and you were kind of saying you would kind of let guys just kind of go with their personality. How much or at all do you encourage athletes to build their own brand? You see, like guys like Juju now, super big on TikTok and just like every social media. See, guys are really not like back in the day. Guys were just like a football player, but now like it's you. Obviously, you're building your own brand, so guys are a lot more well-rounded. They're really letting their personalities show. What you see with like just like Juju a couple weeks ago when he was dancing on the logos and everything, you see that can create publicity for him, but it can also come back and bite him too. So yeah, how much do you encourage them to build their own brand, and then how much do you think that can help or hurt players?
That's actually a really good question. I actually know Juju's marketing guy really well, and he's
Yeah.
one of the best in the business. A really good friend of mine.
Mhm.
He's awesome. But I kind of like I tell people to do what I just kind of let people go with what they want to do and what's comfortable with them. I don't want to take, if we sign a top 10 pick tomorrow for this upcoming draft, if that guy is quiet and like just he's not really interested in like all that stuff, I think I'd be doing him a disservice if I was like
Right.
in his face, like, you need to post twice a day. You need to do all these things. You need to do all these PR interviews, and you have to do X, Y, and Z to build your brand. If he doesn't want to do that, I just think like we work for them, we work with them. You know, I kind of just tell every guy to just be themselves. And like, if we have a guy like a Juju Smith Schuster who's like all about like brand building and wants to do it, then we're right there the whole step of the way. That's what Alan Lazard is doing right now. He started his own brand. He started his own podcast. He's expanding this brand that he wanted to do. And, I just kind of go with what each guy wants to do, what makes them comfortable, because at the end of the day, if they want a brand and I'm not helping them brand, I'm going to take blame for that. But if they, on the opposite spectrum, if they're trying to brand really hard and they want to build their brand to a much bigger thing and we're not helping either, that's also not good. So it's really just understanding and appreciating each guy in each situation, and just whatever they want to do, we're right there and we're helping, whether it's a lot of branding or a little. It's not like every guy I have like this like sheet of paper. I'm like, you need to do
Right.
this, and that.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what makes us really good at our jobs, is that it's not a generic, you're one of 50 that we work with. It's more so like, what do you want to do? What's your goal here?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's kind of it's all this marketing stuff, at least the way that we do it and I do it, and Kim and the rest of Element is more so like it's all about each guy and what they want and what they want to do, and then we just kind of build around from that.
Hmm. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So kind of something that goes right into that is, I think it was a year or two ago, we saw the NCAA start to allow student athletes to profit off their likeness, and that kind of opened the door for sports agencies and marketing agencies to come in and kind of like talk to them. So how do you see that affecting the industry already, or just in the future in general?
I mean, it's gonna affect it a lot. I think, one thing that I kind of think a lot of people should understand is that if you compare it to the NFL, like realistically and genuinely, without overselling things, not every college player is going to be marketable. Not every college player is going to have that opportunity to do a post for Coke or whatever the deal is.
Right, it's really only going to go to like the Trevor Lawrence, Johnny
Right,
Manziel.
like Trevor Lawrence would have crushed it this year. Like Justin Fields would have been incredible. Zach Wilson, all these dudes,
Yeah.
they would have been crushing it this year. But that, if you kind of look at it on the opposite spectrum, like that's no different than the big guys in the NFL. They're the ones that dominate the marketing space.
Mhm.
The Aaron Rodgers and the Patrick Mahomes, like all of those guys, they dominate. To me, it's no different in the college world. But as you know, the whole agent industry is a big sales game. Everyone's trying to represent the same players, the same good people. I think it's going to change a lot in terms of the sales process, because an agency can be doing marketing for a guy his freshman year and get to know him extremely well over the next 2 years, and then they could be the one that sign him for his contracts and when he goes to the NFL. And on the other side, really, really more so like um, the fact that it's going to be the first time ever that college players can profit off their name and likeness, which I think everyone, at least in our side, and everyone with a moral conscience agrees that they should be,
100%.
because they're all living off scholarship and free food, and like
Yeah.
these guys are making their schools a ton of money
Oh,
and
100%.
seeing nothing from it. So I think all of us all agree that it's time that it happens. But on the business side, it's going to be very interesting, because it opens up the doors for agents and agencies to start talking to these players when they're 17 years old in their summer freshman year, going into their freshman year of college,
Mhm.
when they might not even be playing for 3 years. And there's always a chance that, because it's a big sales game, that people can be telling them when they're 17 that they're the next big thing. And if that's not possible or not likely, it's unfair to the player for listening to professionals tell them that. But at the end of the day, it's going to be very interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of companies like Open Doors that are going to absolutely crush it on that side. I believe like Open Doors is going to make deals with a lot of schools, where a lot of these deals come through Open Doors through the school, where
Mhm.
an agent might not be needed. But I also think like a guy like Trevor Lawrence, as a true freshman, he's going to have marketing opportunities. But so like he's going to need help, or he might need a team around him or somebody.
Yeah.
But that's Trevor Lawrence. It's not going to be everybody.
Mhm.
And it goes back to what I've been saying. Anyone that wants to brand build, you have to see what they want to do with their brand, instead of just calling 150 students or college athletes or student athletes, excuse me, and saying like, we want to represent you, we want to do your marketing, like we have a plan for you. And the guy could be like, well, you don't know me, I'm not even a starter, like I'm not going to start till my junior or senior year. So like I think that's even harder than on the NFL side, where like you're at the bottom of the depth chart. I think the bottom of the depth chart guy is going to be a lot more. They're going to have a lot more opportunities just because they're in the NFL than a bottom of the depth chart or a guy who's in the waiting in college.
Mhm.
So it's going to be very interesting. But I think it's going to be the same approach for for us at least. Like work with the right people, adapt around what they want to do, what their game plan is. We're not gonna go in there and just tell them what they need to hear. It's more so like what do you want to do with this? And I think the first year doing this coming season or this following one after this championship game, will teach a lot of people a lot of things because it's the first time any of us are doing this, the agent side or the player side. So I think it's going to be like a trial and error run for everybody, for us, for all agents, for players, for schools. Like none of us have done this before. So I think everyone's just trying to like tread lightly and like do the right thing and understand the situation. But it's, people are crazy if they don't think this is a trial and error process for everybody involved, the parents, the schools, the kids, us. So at the end of the day, that's kind of what I think is going to happen. And that's kind of what I'm preparing for. But our goal is always to just work with the right people, with the right players, and just like, help them with our resources and what we can do and help them build their brand the way they want to build it.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be interesting to see how this all.
It's gonna be very fun to see.
Yeah, a lot of dollars going to be thrown around here. So we already kind of talked about some of the bigger like misconceptions about how only really everyone's kind of competing for certain guys and only a small majority are getting the majority of deals. What are like some of the like biggest common misconceptions you think people have about endorsement deals in sports marketing, sports marketing in general?
I give the same answer every time, and I'm never going to change it for as long as I live, for as long as I talk to people about my job. A lot of people think the shoe and apparel deals are huge, these $1 million Nike deals, these $1 million Adidas and Under Armour deals. I would say like by far the majority of players that have these deals are not on these major cash. Everyone sees like the Odell Beckham Jr. deal that he signed a couple years ago. I think it was like a 5 million or 5-year, $25 million deal. And everyone's like, Nike, oh my God, these big deals. And I'm like, that's Odell Beckham Jr., who at that point when he signed it was not only just, an incredible player, which he still is. I still think he's incredible, even though he got hurt. And, it's been interesting in Cleveland, but he was like a transcendent celebrity. He's a brand and a face in his own right. So I think a lot of people actually like see these big deals and they think that's just how it goes. That's not how it goes at all.
Right.
It's more so a lot of these deals are merchandise deals with cash incentives. Sometimes there's cash with merchandise. Well, every shoe deal has a merchandise tag to it. Any shoe and apparel deal you sign, any brand you sign with, they have apparel, they have an apparel, almost like a gift card or a credit, so they can wear the Under Armour on the field and off the field. But I think a giant misconception is that these massive shoe deals that we read about are kind of for everyone. And that's what I tell every guy we sign every year. That's what I tell every intern. That's what I tell everyone that reaches out for advice is that these companies do create these massive deals, but it's a very small minority of the people in the NFL.
Right.
And I just think that's always been a misconception that you have a deal with Nike or Under Armour or Adidas and like you have this crazy, crazy deal. And even on their side, like if they gave every player they had to deal with some crazy cash deal, that they'd all be bankrupt. So I always will give that answer for like the biggest misconception, at least on the marketing side. Even though those deals are awesome and the people that work at all three of those brands are like some of my favorite people in the world. And they all make really good deals for their companies. At the end of the day, we all have to look out for, we look out for our clients. We look out for ourselves too. The brands look out for their own selves. No one's going to dive into a crazy big deal that's going to lose them a bunch of money,
Yeah, exactly.
So the deals, at the end of the day, the deals are fair too. It's just a misconception.
One that I'm going to chime in that I kind of noticed when I was interning at Element and in the sports agency industry is just that people think just because you're in the NFL that companies are going to be falling at your feet and everything. They don't realize like the NFL, especially compared to like the NBA and everything too. I mean, guys are much less recognizable. Everything. They wear a helmet. there's way more players. There's 53 players on a team, 32 NFL teams. So I mean,
Yeah, it's like 2,500 players or something like that.
yeah, exactly. Like not but like there's so many NFL players. Like brands are probably companies are gonna be approached by so many different agencies and everything. So like just because you're in the NFL doesn't mean brands are gonna be like falling at your feet and everything.
That's another massive misconception.
Mhm.
Is that if you're in the NFL, you think all these brands want to work with you, but you're one of 3,000.
Right.
And it's always a good comparison that I use with the NBA, because an NBA team has like 13 or 14 guys per team, and
Right.
I think only 10 are active, and that's 300 players over 30
Mhm.
teams.
Yeah.
And of course, like you said, as I always tell everyone, they don't wear a helmet, so you can see their face and you can see their emotions. Like
Exactly.
when you're wearing a helmet, it's a much bigger group of people that are all competing for the same deals, and your face is not there.
Yeah.
You can only see a little bit. So I definitely think like that is another big misconception, is that everyone's marketable, everyone has, brands begging them to work together. Not the case.
Mhm. So just kind of finishing up here, there's a lot of people who want to get into the sports agency industry. It's obviously a tough industry to get into. Not a lot of jobs available, but it's definitely a desirable job. What advice would you give to someone who wants to get into the sports agency industry or sports marketing?
I would say candidly, just being able to do whatever it takes to get your foot in the door. I know no one likes hearing this, but it's something that you went through, something that I went through, something that almost everybody, any big agent, any big marketing agent, any big anyone, executive in sports, no matter what part of sports it is, everyone's had to do unpaid internships. Everyone's had to work for free. Everyone's had to work crazy hours at a free internship. And I definitely like the mindset that I had. Is really more so like just kind of almost doing whatever it takes, like anything you can do to stand out, whether it's working for free, whether it's staying late. um I absolutely had the mindset when I was coming out of college. I was like, I'm never doing a free internship again.
Mhm.
And then I was trying to get into this industry, and I was like, the only even likely chance I even have of making in this business is getting a free internship. And then I was barely even getting offered those. So I was like, oh my God, I was like, I just need to kind of just take what I can get, and then that's when you kind of prove yourself. So I always tell people, do whatever you can to get in that door, to get your foot in that door, which is a lot of times an unpaid internship, or a lot of times hard, long hours, or work that you don't want to do. But my main advice would be like, find any way to get into that door. And then at that point, once you're in and like you're not looking for an internship, you have an internship, or something like that, then it's up to you to prove your worth. Then it's up to you to show your talent. That's what I had to do. When I got that internship, they weren't hiring, they weren't looking. And I was just like, I got in here, so now it's up to me. It's a everyday audition until they hire me or they tell me to get out. And that was literally my mindset. I was like,
Mhm.
they're either gonna be like, all right, we love you, you're great, but like, all right, we've had enough of you. Like, go find a job somewhere. And that's what I've told everyone. Just like do whatever it takes just to get in, which is an unpaid internship or something like that. And then just once you have that in, then it's completely up to you. Then it's an even plane, and then you can actually show what you can do. But you can't show what you can do if you don't have your foot in the door, if you're looking for an internship or a job.
Right.
So anything you do to get into that internship, then it's up to you.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of work, because it's a very competitive field, no matter what side of sports you're looking at, whether it's an agency or a team or ticket sales, like marketing, no matter what it is, everyone wants to do it. So like how do you want to get that internship? And then from there, once you get that internship, how do you get that job? It's it was a lot of work. My whole process was way longer than I ever thought it would be.
Mhm.
But then I got to the point where I was just like, I'm this deep in. I'm either gonna, die trying to do this, or I'm gonna get the job. If I don't get it, I know I at least did everything humanly possible to get that. And if it doesn't work, then and I did all I could do, you know.
Yeah, I think that's some great advice. That's kind of something I'm going through right now as I'm finishing up my college football career and college in general. I think you kind of have to just being pursuing a career in sports. You kind of have to like not really compare yourself to all your other friends who are in like accounting or sales or all this other stuff. Because
100% true.
It's a completely different timeline. Like there's like they have these set up jobs and like there's kind of a way there's kind of like there's a way that those jobs are kind of set up. But if you want to work in career in sports, which so many people want to do, the caveat that comes with having such a desirable career is, like you said, willing to do unpaid internships. Not
Yeah.
really not really seeing the career you want to see until in your later 20s or your early 30s. Like this, it's going to be in order to get
it's a very long game.
yeah.
It's not something that just you can't get hired and then you're like the best person in the business, 1 year in. It's definitely, I think you actually made a really good point too, and that's something that took me a long time to realize and understand, is that you cannot this is such a niche like industry. It's what sports alone is a niche industry, and then you have to even drag it further down into this like sports agency thing. That's a niche within a niche. It's such a small time. Everybody knows each other. It's a very, very, very small industry. And definitely what I went through coming out of college was I was comparing myself to all my friends who were doing different things. And then I realized, that, and it's nobody's fault. So many people want to do this, that because it's so competitive, you have to start on such a low scale as an intern or even as an employee, that like if you compare yourself to a different job, you're doing yourself a disservice, because it's just not the same. And it's a long-term thing. No one can just jump in and be the man and sign these great first round picks or represent these amazing players. Like, it's an absolute process. And I just think that's a very good point. Like, if you're looking around at other people, what your friends and other people are doing at the same age, they're not comparable. This is just like, you're just like kind of like going down a rabbit hole doing this career. And you're just, if you look to the left or the right, it's not going to help, because people, I had friends that were jumping into accounting and finance or were making crazy money, right off the bat. I'm like, how are you making such good money? You're a 21-year-old, guy I was just at the bar with last night.
Yeah.
And then, you start to realize that it's just a different thing, but in my opinion, and plenty of people don't agree, to each his own. To me, the risk is worth the reward, but for plenty of people, it's not. And that's what makes it, good for everyone, is everyone has the right to their own, to each his own, and everyone's got their own beliefs. And I just that was the path I went down. And I definitely think it was worth it. And hopefully when I'm old and retired, I can look back and be like, that risk was totally worth the reward that I got. But everyone's got their own, everyone's got their own things that they want to do.
Right.
And I know plenty of people also that wanted to be in sports, and then they did it for a year and they were like, this is absolutely not worth it. I'm going to go do insurance or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what a lot of people our age fall into. I really like what you said about like long game process. I listen to a lot of Gary Vee, as like a lot of people do, and he kind of like inspired me to pursue this career in sports, because I feel like a lot of those people who go into accounting, finance, sales, insurance, these like jobs that you're gonna see quick money like right out of college. They do it for like the paycheck, and you're gonna see the money that they're seeing if you're really good at what you do. And also there are some weird people who like insurance and finance and genuinely enjoy it. But for the majority, I'd say
it's all about priorities and
Yeah.
what, and like I've been saying, to each his own. Everyone's got their own passion, priorities. My goal was to do something I really enjoy and that I'm passionate about, that one day I can, be successful and have a house and all those things.
Right.
Some people enjoy accounting, insurance. Everyone's got their own priorities and passions. But I mean, that's just my advice to anyone in general. Just follow what you want to do, because, a good point too is, if anyone wants to do something like this, like what we want to do, what we're doing, you have to have patience with this long game, because it's not going to come overnight. It's an absolute guarantee and a certainty that this is going to take a long time before you're very successful.
Right.
And two, if the goal is like to do cool things and to be at the Super Bowl and to have clout and to have all that cool stuff and have a lot of followers, this is absolutely not the right industry for anyone, because I've seen a lot of people that, or even my friends, just people I know, it's no one's fault. A lot of people watch, Entourage and Ballers and Jerry Maguire, and they just want to like jump into this and be that dude. And it's just not like that, at least to a degree. And even the biggest, most successful people in the business, they're also sitting on their computer, on their laptop at 10 p.m. at night. They're also sitting in the office on weekends and at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday, sitting in the office, not getting to go home yet. Like, I've told so many people that if their goal is to do like the cool things about this industry, it's not the right industry, because that is a very small part of the work that we do.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and the people that are successful and the people that hang in there, those are the ones that are actually putting in the work, and they have the right mindset too. They actually want to do this, and their goal is to do the best job they can, not to get verified on Instagram or have a lot of followers or be at the Super Bowl. And all this stuff is cool, don't get me wrong. I'd love to be verified. That'd be dope. But I'm not going to get verified, but that's not going to stop me from, working my job as hard as I can. So I think that's a very big piece of advice. As depressing as that may sound, that's just not the main part of the business that we're all in. It's the work.
Definitely definitely a very cool job. And like I was saying, there are obviously some weird people who really enjoy insurance finance, but that's few and far between. I'd say the majority of people who get into that are just kind of doing it for the paycheck. But I feel like a lot of those people always wanted to do something, whether it be sports, whatever their passion is, and they just were scared and never really truly pursued it. And I feel like that's the benefit of pursuing a career in sports. You get to truly do something you love, and you're never really, I know the saying is like never really work a day in your life. And I guess, there's obviously in any job there's going to be stuff you don't like to do, but that's kind of the main drawing point of a career in sports. Like your work is sports, so it's never really truly that bad,
Right, because at the end of the day, when you take your work home or you're working, it's all relative to something that you're passionate about.
Exactly.
And a lot of people are just, there's risk takers and there's not. Some people want to go get that safe job and that steady paycheck. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Yeah, not at all.
I actually think that's almost like a smarter, safer way to go.
Yeah.
I'm not that type of person. I'd rather burn trying to do what I want to do, and at least if it didn't work, I could at least go to sleep at night knowing that I at least went for it, instead of jumping into a job I didn't want to do and then just laying in bed at night every night wondering, what if I had tried to work in sports? What if I had tried to do that? So we're still young. You have no idea where either of us will end up in 10 years from now. We could both be sports agents. We could both be, picking up trash on the side of the road, or I could be serving you your food at Chili's. You have no idea. But that's the cool thing about just doing something you want to do. You can at least, whether it works out or not, you can at least go to bed every night knowing that like you went for it, and whether it's working currently, you're even happier. And even if it doesn't, you went for it, and you're not 45 years old, sitting in a cubicle at an accounting firm, just be like, damn, I really wish I at least tried to be a writer, or at least I wish I had tried to go and work for ESPN or work for the Dolphins or whatever it is. So I'm definitely on the team risk side, but I'm definitely, most people I know and I'm friends with and family that are not like that. So that's why I always say to each his own. Everyone's got their own set of skills and passions and life plans. So this was just mine.
If you're on the fence at all, I think it's, especially in your 20s, like that's the time you have the rest of your life, like the safe jobs in the industries that are really big, and those jobs are always going to be there. I think it's worth it in your early to mid 20s to kind of pursue your passion. If it doesn't doesn't work out, then I mean those jobs are always going to be there. But
Yeah, and then you can go to bed knowing you did it. And what I've told a million people is that these types of things, it's like, if you do take that risk, it's not a life commit. You're not chaining yourself to this thing for the rest of your life. If it doesn't work out in a year or two, then it doesn't work out. You go do something else. It's not like you're committing your life to something. You know, it's a trial and error, like everyone's first job is, or everyone's job is in their 20s or even older. So like that's what I always tell people. Like, if you're willing to take that risk and you want to, you can at least also go to bed knowing that like you're not giving yourself to sports for the rest of your life. If it doesn't work out in a year or two, then you go leave and you go do something else, So that's just my mindset. It's definitely more extreme than most people. And that's what provides me the roller coaster life that I currently live.
Yeah.
But that's why, like I've always said, if you can do it and you want to, then I think being happy is more important than making money. But obviously the dream scenario would be to have both. You're making a lot of money, you're super successful while doing something you love. And I think that's what my goal is. But even if that I don't reach that, as long as I'm doing something that I'm happy about, that I'm passionate about, that I enjoy, and I can pay the bills and I live a decent life, I'm also good with that too.
Yeah.
But again, that's just me. Not everyone is like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know not everyone's like that, but I persuade anybody to just kind of find the perfect balance of your passion and like how much you can afford to get by on, and just kind of find that perfect mix and just kind of roll with that. And that should be your career, in my opinion.
And that's the cool thing that I said is like, if you go for it and it doesn't work out,
yeah,
then you pack up and you go back.
Yeah.
It's not like you're stuck in a black hole of something that you're like, oh my God, I wish I didn't do this. You just get out and you go do something else, especially when we're younger, in our 20s and 30s. So that's how I look at it. That's my current mindset.
100%.
Maybe it'll change when I'm older. But at 26, that's where I view things at this point in time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I appreciate you joining me for this episode. I thought we did a really good job of giving an accurate depiction of what sports agency industry is like behind the scenes, marketing, endorsements, and everything. If you want to follow me, I'm going to post it somewhere around me here. It's at Benny the Edge _. And if you want to follow the enigma that is Matt Zobel, it's at Matt Zobel, right, on Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So go ahead. Go ahead, give him a follow for some good content. That's all we got for today, folks. See you next time.